I'll be the first to admit that when I saw the trailer for Mank all those weeks ago, I was instantly hooked. I mean, it was a very surreal trailer. It had a film noir aesthetic, and to be honest, there's still that one part of me from all the way back in like 2009, 2010, who was all about the film noir that still's kind of there, and you know, film noir will always pique my interest. But I didn't really know much about the movie based on the trailer. I mean, yeah, William Randolph Hearst gets mentioned like once, but that's basically all I really knew. Is like, is Mank a detective? Is this like a gangster movie? What the heck am I watching here? While I waited for the movie, I ended up looking into Mank, or rather, Herman Mankiewicz, and it turns out this is the guy who wrote Citizen Kane. And if you've never heard of Citizen Kane, you've probably never watched, like, any movies at all. Because if you've ever been to a film school, if you've ever had friends who are like film bros, or if you've even just been a film aficionado yourself, hell, if you've made a YouTube channel dedicated entirely to movie reviews, you've probably heard of Citizen Kane. Maybe you haven't seen it, but you've at least heard of it. I mean, Citizen Kane is one of those movies that literally everybody loves. Nobody has anything bad to say about it. It is the movie, you know? It is the quintessential must-see, no matter what time period you are in. And embarrassingly enough, I have never seen this movie before, like, at all. If I know anything about Citizen Kane, it is through a process my wife calls cultural osmosis, and that's pretty much it. I can still bullshit my way through a conversation, assuming 75% of that conversation consisted of the other guy talking and me just going, uh-huh. Yeah, I remember that, yeah. The story of Mank is the story of Herman Mankiewicz being given 90 days, or 60 days, depending on who you talk to write the rough draft for a movie that would eventually become Citizen Kane. They lock him up in this sort of weird retreat out in the middle of nowhere, hoping that it'll keep him away from all his usual vices, i.e. gambling, boozing, women, etc. Somewhere down the line, he finds himself in the same crowd as the legendary William Randolph Hearst. Basically think early 20th century Rupert Murdoch, Fox News sort of stuff, if you will. They find themselves in close competition with each other, and then we start talking about the election for the governorship of California between Upton Sinclair, aka early 20th century Bernie Sanders, and another guy whose name I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say Frank something or other, I can't remember. There's plenty of bits and pieces about fake news reels, and there's this debate about socialism versus capitalism. And it's one of those movies, isn't it? I'm out. Nope, I'm out. Okay. God, I still have like a tenth of this can to go, but I think I'm okay now. Let me just set this over here now. Alright. Can I just say, I am absolutely sick and tired of every single fucking thing in the last 3 or 4 years being some sort of parallel to Donald Trump, the Trump administration, fake news, the Sanders campaign, etc., etc. Well, maybe not the Sanders campaign so much, but all that other stuff. I am just tired. I am, dare I say, I'm even exhausted. I am just... For people who talk about hating this guy more than you hate, like, the most hateable thing in the universe, you sure do talk about this guy a lot. Way to give him all the power. But you know what? I'm not gonna let it bother me, if only because every movie in the last 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years does this, so whatever, let's just move on from it. Stylistically, this movie is a spectacle, and you could really look at it one of two ways. One, it's a very amazing recreation of old 1940s cinema, right down to the audio aspects where everything sounds all fuzzy and not quite as clear as it could be, but that had less to do with like aesthetic choice and more to do with just the equipment you had to work with. And I wonder out loud if they actually had like old-timey equipment laying around they could use to make the footage look like that and sound like that, or if this is how far we've come that we can officially be digital hipsters and use this super sleek technology to create something from the 1940s that looks like it was clearly shot on a budget of some sort, you know what I'm saying? 2, this is a movie that just screams Oscar-bation. Just give me that Oscar and give it to me now. And I'm not saying you're entirely wrong for having that opinion. I could easily see that being the case. I mean, in terms of Oscar baiting, I've definitely seen worse. Setting aside anything I have to say about literally every filmmaker who thinks he's the smartest man in the room on earth making a Trump allegory, the one thing wrong with this movie is that it is kinda dull in spots. Like, this movie, I didn't really time how long it is, but it was at least 2 hours, maybe 2.5, maybe. I just know what it felt like it took forever to get through. Even when I was enjoying this movie, it was a very long-winded movie, and it can probably wear on some people's patience. In terms of historical accuracy, I can't really vouch for this movie one way or the other. I mean, I could tell you things like they really got Mankiewicz wrong in terms of him being not nearly as political as the movie made him sound, and apparently he was actually even anti-union, but that's just like secondhand information I've gathered from other people's reviews, and I'll be the first to admit that I'm still kind of in the process of researching it myself, but a lot of it is kind of starting to sound legit, so that. But on the other hand, I don't really fault the movie for being psychotically, historically inaccurate because, well, I mean, it's a movie. Name one biopic that's 100% accurate, like 100% down to the detail. Sometimes you just have to take creative license just to make the movie flow a little better, but there's like minor historical inaccuracies, and then there's Mank. Good God, man. If historical accuracy is a sore spot for you, you are probably going to hate this movie a lot more than I did. Overall, the only real disappointing thing about Mank was that it ended up being just okay. I didn't hate the movie at the end of the day, but I didn't really like it as much as I thought I was going to, which is kind of a bummer. So, reluctantly, I give Mank 2 hats out of 4. And that's going to do it for this week's review. Be sure to tune in next time when I have another review for your viewing pleasure. In the meantime, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell to show you mean it. Follow me on Twitter at TommyTealHat. And I'll see you next time. Where the hell did I put that beer?